Good evening and welcome to the July 28th legislative session of the Salisbury City Council. In the event of an emergency, please remain calm and exit through the double doors you came in, make a right, and proceed to the stairwell. If the hallway is blocked, then exit to the left, around the corner, and down the stairs. Please do not use the elevator, and let us know if you need any assistance. This time, we do ask that everyone please silence your cell phones. Before we start with tonight's business, I do want to take a moment of personal privilege to thank those of you who did know, who reached out to me with your thoughts and prayers. My brother was airlifted to shock trauma on Sunday morning, and I want to take a moment to just thank the teams, the first responders, the Maryland State Trooper, the aviation units, and those at shock trauma for bringing my brother. For keeping them alive. It's touch and go. So while we will make sure that tonight's business is done orderly, we will make sure things are moving along so that way I can be back with my family. But if you do pray, continue to pray. If not, keep us in your thoughts, my family. At this time, we're going to ask Councilwoman Jackson to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Councilwoman Jackson. Thank you. Council Vice President Blake will not be joining us this evening. This time we invite Bishop Andre Alexander from New Dimensions Church up to the podium for our city invocation.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening, Bishop.
Let us bow our head in a word of prayer. Our Heavenly Father, we thank you. We thank you for this time that you have set apart for us to come and tell you how much we appreciate your time to be here with us. God, we pray now that you touch the city council meeting from our president to everyone that sits on the council now here in Salisbury, that you meet and allow them and grant them the wisdom to move our county forward, Wilmington forward, in the name of Jesus. God, we speak a blessing over every family member, every leader here, in the name of Jesus, every officer here that protects our local community. So God, in the name of Jesus, give them wisdom and the know-how. Give them strategic planning to move our city forward. God, bless our mayor and the leadership. In the name of Jesus, and God, we count these things done today. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Bishop, and welcome to Salisbury. Yes. At this time, we'll pivot to Councilwoman Gregory and Councilwoman DeShield to lead us for a certificate of recognition for our Adopt a Road program.
Today, I am honored to give a certificate of recognition to Dave Chiddington for his passion and commitment to keeping Salisbury clean and beautiful. His efforts to bring an Adopt a Road program to our city, along with the support of Wicomico Presbyterian Church, has shown what true community spirit looks like. We are grateful for his leadership and for taking the initiative to get others involved in making a positive impact in our city. We extend our deepest gratitude to him for stepping up and helping us build a better Salisbury one road at a time. And this is signed by the council president.
This is the first sign ever.
Yes.
It's very, very nice. I just want to say a few words, if I could. I started this program back on January 30th, and I have met either by phone or in person some wonderful staff members that you have working for this city. Everyone from Christine Dodd, field operations, Cynthia Dodd, Zach White, Mayor Randy, Deshawn, and of course, your township clerk, I call him our township clerk, your township clerk, who's one of the most vital parts of any commission. The one thing that we did back in Jersey was that this program does work, as I've explained many times. So we're not rookies at this, but we want to work in conjunction with the city of Salisbury to keep the streets of city of Salisbury clean. We are not trying to take over the green team efforts, which Terry and I, my wife, we work with them. I have been giving some streets by Mark Enberg. With the city's permission, I'll present them to you that we would like to dedicate this first year of operation. I do know that the green team, along with Christine Main and her son Dylan and Troop 817, they're also big in cleaning up this town. And I hope more groups do come out. But what I'm trying to really emphasize here is that I want to applaud this city council for taking the bold step to be the first in the city of Salisbury to do such a thing. And I hope it just blossoms and flourishes from this day forward. So again, thank you all so very, very much.
Thank you.
Can you hold it up a little higher?
There you go. Yes, yes.
Yeah, there you go. I was trying to figure out how I was going to get out of the picture.
This is your sign. There you go. Hold on to it. Just keep smiling. We'll keep playing.
Thank you. Thank you again, Dave, and your church and the Boy Scout troop for bringing that to us. And more details about how others can sign up will be coming hopefully at the next meeting, but we want to make sure we do this right. So again, thank you all for your patience, but thank you all for bringing this to us and for having the first sign and for definitely keeping us accountable with this. Next, we'll pivot to the mayor's office for a proclamation to celebrate a very dear retirement.
Good evening. Today we offer a proclamation to one of my favorite guys in the city police department. I've grown to really like this leadership team. Don't be jealous, Howard. Come on, Jason. All right. So, without any further ado, whereas the city of Salisbury, Maryland, with great admiration and respect honors Captain Jason Yankelunas on the occasion of his retirement after nearly 30 years of dedicated service to the Salisbury Police Department, marking an exemplary career in law enforcement. And whereas born in Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania in 1973, Captain Yankelunas graduated from Wyoming Area School District in 1991. Earned a Bachelor's of Arts in Criminal Justice from King's College in 1995, and is a proud graduate of the 247th season of the FBI National Academy. And whereas Captain Yankelunas began his career with Salisbury Police Department on February 5th, 1996, rising through the ranks to serve in key roles across the operations, administration, and criminal investigation divisions, culminating as a commander of the Operations Division. And whereas throughout his career, Captain Yankelunas championed community policing initiatives and led efforts to the narcotics enforcement, violent crime apprehension, and tactical operations with a steadfast professionalism and resolve. And whereas Captain Yankelunas has been recognized with numerous awards and honors, including the Community Police Award, Silver Star, Meritorious Service Award, Exceptional Duty Award, Honorable Service Award, multiple Chiefs Award, unit citations, Distinguished Service Awards, and many letters and certificates of appreciation. And whereas Captain Yankelunas' unwavering commitment to his oath, his devotion to duty, and his legacy of leadership, integrity, and service to the city of Salisbury and its citizens will be profoundly missed. Upon his retirement on June the 27th, 2025. Now therefore, I, Randolph J. Taylor, Mayor of the City of Salisbury, do hereby proclaim July the 28th, 2025 as Jason Yankelunas Day.
In front of the podium. In front.
Get in front like everybody. Go in front.
front.
Let me get in front of it.
Get in front.
Boy, we have to tell you men everything.
Whoa, 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 whoa.
In all fairness, y'all had to tell us to get in front of it, too.
I'm trying.
There's too many cameras, you can't hide, Tom. That's a good picture.
Yes, it is.
It's gonna be a frameable one.
Go away. I'm gonna be up here a while. Hey, not too long.
Jason, come up here with me, please. All right, this is the state of Maryland governor's citation commemorating your retirement. To Captain Yankelunas, Jason Yankelunas, greetings. Let it be known that on behalf of the citizens of the state of Maryland, in recognition of your 30 years of dedicated and outstanding service that you have made on behalf of the Salisbury Police Department, in honor of the high-level professional leadership and integrity you have demonstrated throughout your distinguished career in law enforcement, and as the people of Maryland join in expressing our great respect, admiration, and sincere best wishes on the occasion of your retirement. This is signed by the Governor and Lieutenant Governor. Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Okay. All right, this is the Salisbury Police Department Retirement Medal. And Jason, I'm going to present this to you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Certificate of Retirement, Captain Jason Yankelunas, in recognition of your dedicated service to the Police Department of Citizens of Salisbury. The department recognizes your commendable display of devotion to duty, professionalism, and contribution to law enforcement. You've been successful inspiration to others, and we wish you happiness and prosperity in the future. And this is signed by yours truly.
It's legit.
So much, Jason. Jody? All right, as we know, Jody, probably nobody could test to this more than you, the 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock in the morning call-outs.
She knows.
Jason was the commander of our tactical unit for years, and wasn't unusual to get a call in the middle of the night, and you were always there, Johnny on the spot. But Jody, behind that is always somebody, right? And that's you. And we sincerely appreciate you giving us Jason for 29 years, and reluctantly, we're going to give him back to you at this point. So, certificate of appreciation is awarded to Jody Yankelunas in your unwavering love, support, and sacrifice throughout your husband's 29 year of dedicated service to the Salisbury Police Department. Your strength and encouragement were a foundation behind the badge, helping make a lasting impact on our department and our community. And we'd like to share this with you in recognition of your service and your sacrifice. So thank you so much. Okay, long-standing history of our agency to provide a retiree with a shadow box. This particular shadow box displays Captain Yankelunas' medals that were described in the proclamation, along with all the shields that he wore and the different ranks he held throughout his career. Jason, I want to present this to you.
Thank you so much. Wow.
Yeah, go ahead.
Squeeze in there.
All right, Chief, squeeze in there, buddy. Somewhere.
See her.
Get in the picture.
You're bigger than he is.
Yeah, come on. You had something to do with it too.
You'll need more space. You can, if you want to come in front of the, you got it.
Oh, there's his one. You gotta get him out. And I don't blame him.
Yeah, we got all that.
Yeah, oh, yeah. Yeah, they were down at so watch the meeting.
Captain Yank, any last words or any words that you?
I just,
Yeah.
I just want to thank the chief, the mayor, the city council for all the support that I've been given over the years. I only hope that my work and eventual leadership was deserving of the support that was always there. So thank you all for everything. This is truly humbling and awesome. So thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you all for that. Captain Yank, we like the look here. Yeah.
Very distinguished.
Yes. We'll give folks just a few moments to filter out.
Don't leave. The fun part is just,
Yeah, yeah.
we may need you.
Here just for us.
Yes.
That's awesome. That's so great.
All right, Miss English, if you wouldn't mind reviewing tonight's agenda, please.
Absolutely. Good evening, council. On this evening's agenda, we have a consent agenda with 6 sets of meeting minutes. Woo-hoo. Thank you. We have a public hearing on Resolution 3412, and we have 4 ordinances that will be voted on by council.
Thank you, Ms. English.
You're welcome.
Hearing that, I will entertain a motion and a second to approve the legislative agenda as presented.
So move.
Second.
All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, the chair votes aye. Thank you, Ms. English. At this time, I will entertain a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Ms. English?
On the consent agenda this evening, we have meeting minutes from February 10th, 2025, work session and legislative session, February the 24th, 2025, work session and legislative session, and finally, March the 10th, work session and legislative session.
Thank you, Ms. English. All those in favor of the consent agenda as presented, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, the chair votes aye. Thank you. Moving to our first public hearing, resolution number 3412. Anyone wishing to speak during either of the public hearings, please stand now and be sworn in by the city clerk. And the first one will be on annexation of certain land to be known as Chestnut Way, the Pohanka Kia annexation. Okay, let the record reflect there is no one standing to be sworn in for the public hearing. Seeing that, I will entertain a motion in a second to approve resolution number 3412 for second reading.
So move.
Second.
Resolution number 3412. This is a resolution to annex certain land to be known as Chestnut Way, Pohanka Kia annexation, as described in the property description and annexation plat attached and incorporated as exhibits herein, consisting of 5.280 acres, more or less, into the city of Salisbury, and to provide for the terms and conditions of the annexation.
Thank you, Ms. Boucher. The time is now 6:20. The public hearing is now open. Okay, time is still 6:20. Again, let the record reflect no one is wishing to speak on tonight's public hearing. Public hearing is now closed. Council, any questions referring to Resolution 3412? No. All those in favor of Resolution 3412 for second reading, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, the chair votes aye. Actually, I misspoke. We only have one resolution for public hearing tonight. Please, my apologies. Moving on to our ordinances for this evening. Ordinance number 2946. I will entertain a motion and a second to approve ordinance 2946 for second reading.
So moved.
Second.
Ordinance number 2946, this is an ordinance of the City of Salisbury to accept $20,000 in grant funds from the Governor's Office of Crime Prevention, Youth and Victim Services through the Burn Justice Assistance Program for the police officers' purchase and installation of camera and cellular gateway equipment. As you mentioned, it's before you tonight for second reading. There's been no changes or amendments since first reading.
All those in favor of ordinance number 2946, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, the chair votes aye. I will entertain a motion and a second to approve ordinance number 2947 for first reading.
So moved.
Second.
Ordinance number 2947, an ordinance of the City of Salisbury amending Chapter 8.11 of the Salisbury City Code entitled the Fire Prevention Code to adopt a requirement for a permit for the city fire marshal for wholesale and retail sale of ground-based sparkling devices within the City of Salisbury.
All those in favor of ordinance number 2947, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, the chair votes aye. I will entertain a motion and a second to approve ordinance number 2948 for first reading.
So moved.
Second.
Ordinance number 2948, this is an ordinance of the City of Salisbury to accept a $500 donation from the Community Foundation of the Eastern Shore to fund a garden planting at Ann Street Village.
All those in favor of ordinance number 2948, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, the chair votes aye. I will entertain a motion and a second to approve ordinance number 2949 for first reading.
So moved. Second.
Ordinance number 2949, an ordinance of the City of Salisbury amending the Salisbury City Code to create a new Salisbury Planning Commission independent from that of Wycomico County.
All those in favor of ordinance number 2949, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, the chair votes aye. Thank you, Ms. Boucher. That concludes the ordinance portion of tonight's agenda. At this time, we'll pivot to our public comments portion. Again, those wishing to speak do have 3 minutes. Enter the podium. If you wouldn't mind just stating your name, if you are a city resident, and you may speak on any topic during the legislative session. Those wishing to speak may just go up to the podium and at this time. A second request for, yep, if you would like to speak, please. Thank you. Any topic, yes, yes.
Well, it's just another special moment from Riley Smith, Salisbury. First, let me congratulate April Jackson for 2 instances of unexpected fiscal responsibility. One in conjunction with Sharon DeShiel for the recommended dumping of the $81,000 of town council and city crier position, citing that she does her job and doesn't need another unnecessary financial burden on the taxpayers of Salisbury. Second, Ms. Jackson inquired whether Salisbury University would contribute to the cost of the water tower painting. Remember, Ms. Jackson served and endured the unholy alliance of tax spend and the bureaucracy reign of terror during the Jake Day, Jack Heath tyrannies. My words, not hers. Anyway, I hope this windy flicker of light becomes a blinding, unextinguishable torch and forever forward. I know this is from February, but since there seems to be a big disconnect between the people of Salisbury and how long they're allowed to comment on anything, and get the facts and can devote the time to it, I skimmed the 2024 Salisbury Fire Department update. Are the costs, and this is purely, has no reflection on the fire department with their ability to do their jobs. It's only due to cost, which affects us. Are the cost of individual trips for fire and EMS measured per trip? Because they say that there were a total of 17,000 calls, up 4%. Fire was 4,400, EMS 12,623. Remember, this town's only 30,000 people. And then total fire unit responses, 6948. I'm not sure what the total fire unit response mean, as it is not included in the 17,000 calls, or is it? Numbers in my world have to add up. But what does add up in the 17,000 are the EMS calls in incorporated districts, EMS calls in unincorporated districts, EMS calls outside of the Salisbury Fire Department district, 324 of those, fire calls incorporated district, fire calls unincorporated district, and fire calls outside of the Salisbury Fire District. I guess the question is, does incorporated district mean in the city limits? What does unincorporated mean? Is the city billing and unincorporated taxes outside Salisbury Fire District is outside of the district? Are we billing the county and or respondent party to recover the full cost to the city? 1,621 calls to skilled nursing facilities, 12.8% of the total EMS call volume. The fire department met with the staff of the super user facility to discuss alternatives, integration of the SWIFT MDCN teams in these facilities, training of our providers, monthly call reviews for justification of 911. The facility is adding providers. They are revamping clinical procedures. They have contracted with private transportations. Skilled nursing facilities cost a fortune. You're telling me that these weren't taken into account in the price of being admitted to a skilled nursing facility? That's scary. But 12.8% or 16 seems excessive, again, for skilled nursing facilities already with existing staff. Are they being charged appropriately? Are these skilled nursing facilities in city limits? Once again, will adding SWIFT MDCN teams to these facilities cost the taxpayers of Salisbury? Do we need to charge a value-added tax of 12.8% to these facilities to line up the excess costs based on the aggregate similarity and need of these facilities? This is the disturbing part is outside FD's assisted the Salisbury Fire Department 77 times.
Thank you, ma'am.
Outside EMS units handled calls 335 times.
Thank you. Thank you. Yep. Just you all can just filter right after the other. Can you put it there?
Hi, everyone. I'm Molly Hilligoss, CEO of Habitat for Humanity of Wicomico County. And really, this is more of another announcement, infomercial, so to speak, but it's for your constituents, Council. So it's really important that you know that we have rental and utility assistance coming. And this will be for families with children enrolled in Wicomico County schools. We hope to have the application ready by September 1st, if not sooner. Parents that are in need of assistance can go ahead and give us a call. Go to our website to give, however they need to reach us, they can call us. And we will put them on an intake form and then follow up with them when we have the final applications ready. But this is great news for your constituents.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
So, anyway, thank you.
Good evening, Robert Taylor, Salisbury resident. I'm going to speak just briefly regarding the fire department statement that was made a little earlier. And I want to give Mayor Taylor, we're not related incidentally, a lot of credit for getting the county on board to pay an appropriate, reasonable amount for the services that we provide outside of the city into the county. It's a very large district. There are a lot of calls. And he started it, getting it going. Got to give the county council a little bit of credit too. They've played ball on the idea, and I think we have a win-win arrangement for both parties. And let's keep it going. I can't address his particular issues about here, there, and everywhere, but I will give the mayor a lot of credit for what he's done. Thank you.
Seeing no other person wishing to speak during this public comments portion of the agenda, again, on any topic, we will now adjourn. Okay, we'll adjourn this meeting and we'll convene into our work session. His time is now 6:31 and the legislative session is adjourned. Same time, I call this work session to order. We'll start with a presentation from our fire chief on the first half of 2025, statistical update from SFD. Good evening, Fire Chief. Oh, yes. Chris, do we need...
Chief, while you get set up, I wanted to amplify something that Bob Taylor said. I want to give Chief adequate credit on negotiating that fire service agreement. It was impressive. It was good. I think it's consistent, but a lot to do with his work that he did on the explaining the true cost of fire and EMS. So I want to give him that.
Thank you for that, Mayor.
Yep.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mayor, for that. Appreciate it.
No worries.
Hopefully, some of those questions that were just asked will be answered here.
Sound familiar, don't they?
Yeah, perfect timing, I think. So, good evening, Council. And as was stated, I'm here to talk about the first half 2025 update. Let's see. There we go. So, as you can see, first half of 2024 calls versus first half of 2025. So, total calls for service were up 723 or 8.9%. Of that, 155 of those calls were fire related and 565 were EMS. So you can see they keep going up. The gentleman asked about fire unit responses and numbers not jiving. Those are actual individual vehicle responses. So one incident may get an engine and a truck. That's 2 responses. We use that number to reflect the true cost of the wear and tear on our equipment. So you can see those numbers in the first half of 2024 were 3,332. So far in first half of 2025, 3,541. These increase in call rates are a little bit alarming. They're a little bit higher than what we have been trending on. Typically, it's been about a 4% increase year over year. So we'll see what the second half of 2025 brings, but we have had some discussion specifically about beginning to think of what a 5th EMS unit is going to look like maybe on a demand level. So those are some conversations we plan to have over the next couple of months.
Chief, not to get too far ahead, I know we're just on the first slide, but I was actually watching a documentary on this, and because of different fire chiefs were talking about, again, it's, weather related, heat, global, whatever you feel about it, but, it's hotter now. It's hotter. It's the weather is, it's infrequent or it's just changing. Is that, can you speak briefly on why, what the trends are?
Yeah, I mean, typically what I think is that the city is growing, whether we want to say it's in the city limits or outside of the city limits. We're a unique department in that we are probably the only city department that serves both city residents and county residents. And as Mr. Taylor alluded, the mayor and myself have worked for quite a while with the county council and the county executive to get what we feel is more adequate funding. Not to say it's never enough, but sure. And we'll get to that in some of these later slides where you can see where we've grown. But So I would say that it's not just necessarily like a heat or a weather-related thing. I would just say it's probably the overall growth of Salisbury city and county districts that we provide.
That's a good point. I know I was speaking with some, I think he works with the fire association for the state or what have you. But like if you look at like Annapolis, again, I'm not comparing us to Annapolis, but I'm just saying, look at Annapolis. I think they have like what four. They have Anne Arundel, you have in the city of Annapolis, and you have a couple of jurisdictions that may respond to a certain area. Whereas here, you're getting Salisbury Fire Department.
You're going to get assistance from a volunteer department from the
Perhaps.
outside, but yeah, if you live in the Salisbury Fire District, your predominant response is going to be from the Salisbury Fire Department. So it may be one fire.
Right.
Your house may be on fire. That's three units in the unit response calculation that the gentleman was referring to earlier.
Okay.
The slide that's up there now just shows the first halves of 2023, 2024, and 2025. So you can see between 2024 and 2025 with EMS and total calls, there is a little bit a higher percentage increase there over those years. I will add that we added 12 additional SAFER employees that are now full-time employees in 2022. Since that time, our call volume has gone up 6.2%. So we're looking at that trend in addition to maybe needing that peak ambulance during what we call peak time, so 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. Talk about this a little bit, breaking it down. So incorporated district, yes, the gentleman was correct. That's within the city limits. Salisbury is very cut up as far as what's in the city and what's outside. So specifically first half of 2025, you're looking at 284 call increase within the city limits, or 6.9% of our overall of an increase there. Unincorporated would be outside of the city limits or the county portion of our fire district. Those calls were up 13.6%. Outside of the SFD district would be us going out to, say, Parsonsburg or Hebron or Del Mar or Mardella or Pittsville, outside of the Salisbury Fire District, both city and county. You can see that's increased quite a bit, and some of that initially in the year was going south to Somerset. They've recently stood up an EMS department for the county, but they're in the first 6 months of the year, they were struggling, and Allen would go, Fruitland would go, which would then lead us to then have to go maybe cover in Fruitland or Allen's district. So that's just how the mutual aid works. Skipping down to fire calls, same thing. Within the city limits, up 5.6%. Outside of municipal boundaries, up 13.1%. And no change in what's actually outside of our fire district. So we went 93 times and assisted outside of the Salisbury Fire District. And that could be for various things, from the other volunteer corporation didn't get out, or it was an actual house fire that involves multiple units. Again, just some charts here to show that deeper dive of in the city limits and outside of the city limits. I'm not going to beat a dead horse, but call volumes continue to increase, which thereby puts a demand on our units, making more and more unavailable at certain times. So, how do you get over that? You have to add additional staffing or an additional unit.
Chief,
yes.
Chief, touch on the point he made about the 1,600 calls to the skilled nursing home. That's a problem we've talked through a couple times, and we're trying to figure out a solution to.
Yeah, so obviously it's a significant increase in our call volume. The 1,600 is a large portion of the 12,000. A lot of times they are for what we call non-emergent EMS calls. So we are looking at some different paths. Our SWIFT team and MDCN team are joint teams of nurse practitioners and community paramedics with Tidal Health. They are making an impact. I would say it's not a significant impact. So we're looking at some other alternatives that are being done in other jurisdictions. And we plan to have a discussion on how we're going to attack that probably within the next week or two. You'll see that played out a little bit more to see if there's an appetite to go down that path. Does that answer?
Yep,
That's
it.
Cool. So we've talked about fire service agreement. So just to expand and show some of our successes, and then the last line is maybe where we weren't successful. We weren't successful. I'll start with that. Bad news first. We wanted a multi-year agreement with the county. We weren't able to get that. I still think there's opportunity for that in the future, but what we were able to do was what I would call miraculous, and the first time ever of getting caught up for services that we were paying. So the city is not receiving these funds in arrears. So Payments for FY25 total $3.5 million. That was $2 million for the services provided in that year, and a $1.5 million catch-up payment. In the current budget year, FY26, those payments from the county will increase to $3.7 million. That's $2.2 for the services in FY26, and the final $1.5 million catch-up payment. So now we are being funded like all the other volunteer fire departments in the county. And just to show you for comparison, in FY23, the county paid the city $766,000 for services. In FY24, it was just under $1 million, and you can see where we're at in FY25 and FY26. So I would think that through just some relationship building and some conversations between the mayor and myself, county council and county executive, that we made significant strides in that to get that to a more appropriate level. And like I said, the conversation does continue with moving forward to some sort of longer-term agreement for that. EMS specifically, our goal is that we have a 20% return of spontaneous circulation, so that's 20% save rate. We sit at 21.8%, which is above our goal. So in the first half, we had 78 of the 133 cardiac arrests. We actually attempted resuscitation, so that means there was something there that we had to work with. They weren't what we call priority 4 or passed away beyond help. So of that, 17 were successfully resuscitated and discharged. So in 6 months, we put 17 people back out into the world alive. That's pretty incredible for our people and for the citizens and community that are around here. So opioid-related calls in the first half of 2025 were exactly the same as they were in 2024 with 45. So I would call that success. Some people might argue that, but we're not increasing. We just recently, as you know, January 1st received a large grant that we'll talk about that actually got expanded upon here in a little bit. But that program is having success, and we just started our part-time grant-funded opioid program coordinator who started today, who's going to take that even further out into the schools, into 8th and 10th grade programs. As I said, our units sometimes are a little delayed leaving the hospital. So our average EMS unit response time has crept up. It was under 6 minutes. Now it's just a little bit over 6 minutes. And that is because units, I heard them just this morning, there were multiple calls this morning, several accidents and several EMS calls, and the 911 center will call our unit that's sitting at the hospital and ask them if they're available. And they said, we'll be available in 1 or 2 minutes. That delay is what we're seeing because our units are not quite ready to take the call, whereas if we had a unit that was available, they could respond and shave that 1 to 2 minutes off. So that's where we're going with that. Our SWIFT program that we've talked about a lot currently has 19 patients enrolled. In our MDCN program, which has a fall reduction component, opioid responses and response to low acuity calls to help keep our ambulances in service, responded to 512 calls in the first half of 2025. So EMS billing revenue, first half of 2025, these charges always lag, or our collections always lag what our charges are. So it's kind of a weird looking graphic up here, but first half of 2025 gross charges billed were a little over $3 million. Comparatively speaking, in the second half of 2024, we collected $1.3 million. Again, I can't give you first half collected because June 30th calls, the calls in June, some of them haven't even been billed out yet because of the billing provider that does that. But our, if you annualize that number, it's projected to be $2.62 million, which is about $200,000 above what we budgeted for the year. We always have this slide in here, but yes, we bill significantly more than $300, but when you average it out with Medicare payments and insurance payments and write-downs, each ambulance transport generates approximately $300. I wish it was a lot more than that. It should be. That doesn't hardly pay for any of it. Our fire marshal's office, I can't say enough good things about our fire marshal's office and the job they do protecting our citizens, our community, and the first responders through inspections, plans, and enforcement. So as you can see, they're a very busy office. They're an office of 3 with a inspections coordinator there. Extremely busy first half. They also had the 4th of July fireworks event with numerous plan reviews, suppression systems, tests, inspections, and investigations. So our first half property value saved from fire, which is a significant or an important statistic that we think is pretty significant, was a little over $4 million compared to property that was lost to fire was just under 1.4. They reviewed 59 building plan reviews. And they did 992 building inspections within our community in 6 months. That's like unheard of. There's about 1,500 commercial occupancies in our fire district, so they're knocking them out and generating revenue all at the same time. So in the first half of 2025, we projected they would generate $84,000 in revenue. They're about $275,000, which is pretty impressive. Just so you know, they also do an investigation component. So if we have non-arson type fires, non-criminal fires, they do investigations for those. We did 23 of those in the first half of 2025, and only 1 civilian fire injury. The last slide here just says those of you that a couple council members and the mayor and Tom were at the swearing-in ceremony. We are fully staffed. We just put 5 new recruits through a 2-week academy to fill retirement and resignation vacancies. So they are currently all in their FTO process, which could take up to 3 months. We have completed our grant-funded cancer and blood testing of our employees, volunteers, and our auxiliary. Through that, we did identify 7 people for follow-up for further testing. Cancer is the #1 cause of death in the fire service. Even though people think it's cardiac, it's long-term, it's cancer. And I mentioned a little bit about the opioid program, but the community outreach program that they've worked on, last year they piloted it in the 8th grade. They reached approximately 300 students, and the intent that in this fall we will roll it out to 8th and 10th graders. Kind of like the old school DARE, but a little bit of a current twist on that, but it was very well received by the teachers as well as the students in the school system. So that's kind of a quick rundown of what the fire department's done in the first half. If you have any questions, I can certainly answer anything.
Well, first of all, thank you for doing this. You're fairly consistent with the updates, and we definitely appreciate them. It keeps us, abreast of what's going on in council. Any questions or comments that you have?
Just want to thank you guys so much.
Thank you for your support. We
Yeah,
really appreciate it.
You guys are doing a great job considering the calls have been consistently going up.
It's been a busy summer already, yes.
Yes, it has. Well, we appreciate you very much.
I was feeling a little faint today. I was going to call you.
Send 3 units, yeah.
We would have helped you out.
Good. All right, if no other questions on that, we'll move forward to the grant agreement, or amending the grant agreement with the ordinance. So we'll just pivot to you, Chief.
Sure. So a couple weeks ago, we were notified by the state that with the passage of 2 separate House bills, our grant that was originally awarded back in December, I believe it started in January, for $542,000 has been increased to $623,300. And that is because the 2 state bills that passed now allow for us to use those funds for indirect costs, so certain administrative costs such as preparing some of the grant submittals and some of the legwork behind getting receipts and things. We can now use the grant money for that. In order to accept this, we have to go through legislation to get a grant agreement accepted. So what we're here is to allow the mayor to sign off on accepting the additional $81,000. There is no match. There is nothing that's required from us other than to find good ways to spend the money from the state.
We look forward to what that looks like. Council, any questions?
No, Mayor,
We have-
sign off.
Councilwoman Jackson said that, not. We have consensus to move forward with that?
Yes.
Thank you, Council. Yes. Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you, Chief.
All right, we will bring up Captain, members from our police department for an ordinance approving a budget amendment for grant fund. I think we see Captain Phelps back there. And I think we have Chief joining as well.
Evening.
Evening.
fine. Yes, fine. Good evening. And we're here this evening to accept equitable sharing funds. That's what we're reading the ordinance for. The Salisbury Police Department is requesting authorization to use $150,000 in equitable sharing funds for the purchase and installation of a storage system necessary to support the department's operational needs. These funds became available as a result of the dissolution of the multi-jurisdictional Wycomico County Narcotics Task Force in 2020, of which SPD was a participating agency. Following the dissolution, all final installments of the funds were deposited into the city's general fund to be used in compliance with Department of Justice and U.S. Treasury guidelines governing these equitable sharing funds. SPD proposes to use $75,000 of these funds for the remaining portion of a property storage system. Our current property storage area has reached capacity, and the installation of the additional system components will allow for the department to fully utilize the available space we have remaining and extend the functionality of the area for the foreseeable future. All property stored by SPD must be maintained in accordance with applicable laws and chain of custody requirements. Proper storage infrastructure is essential to ensuring the security and integrity of this evidence. We propose to use an additional $75,000 of the $150,000 from the equitable sharing monies to fund one half of the cost of a new record storage system. We're running into some of the same issues, and that is at and above capacity. So we have boxes placed in different locations throughout. So we need, if we could use $75,000 of that $150,000 for half of that, the remainder of that money has been placed into this year's budget.
Okay. Council, any questions?
No. Yeah.
No? We have consensus to move this forward?
Yes.
Good. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Yes. Thank you all for cleaning that up. All right, next we'll pivot to Councilwoman DeShiel. We're going to start and lead us into some discussion on some housing-related topics, and then we'll discuss and perhaps see a couple staff members that may help us in that discussion, and then we'll move forward. Councilwoman DeShiel.
Okay. All right. Welcome, everybody, and thank you for your attention for this. I went through housing when we talked about it. It's come up, so many different pieces of housing has come up in over the meetings that we have had people come and talk about. So what I did is when the president said, okay, you have 30 minutes. So I'm going to talk quickly and go through what I have put together and tell you why I did it this particular way.
I actually said 15. No, I'm messing up.
Start the timer, Michelle.
Yeah. Hang on. How do I?
Okay, like I said, I should put this in a PowerPoint, but I did not. So, and I'm able to do it if you want to. The overall and general housing, as far as I am concerned, is one size does not fit all. First of all, we need to put plans into action based upon identified needs. One of these areas obviously is attainable, affordable housing, which comes up very frequently. And considering buyers' ability, the AMI, lots of factors there, as well as renters, and create options to address this piece of housing. The one thing that is missing in housing everywhere is middle housing options. It's a new word. It just used to be starter homes. And so those of you that there's plenty of information out there on that now because it's coming to the forefront. Financial capability is an obvious factor when it comes to housing, and knowing how to navigate the opportunities can be difficult. Just ask our Mr. Director Boda there. Anyway, to rent or to buy is determined by a lot of factors, in addition, wants and needs. We are in an area that has 70% rentals. That includes apartments, and 30% owners, which according to the Greater Salisbury Committee's task force is the opposite of the national percentage. That alone is a major concern. There are different forms of assistance available to first-time buyers and renters, and this is a starting point. Another factor, the realtors are seeing they can't make people buy properties. People are a little weary of the interest rates, obviously, and they are in a holding pattern to some degree. So I've broken it up into who, what, where, when, and how. So see if you can follow me as I go through this. The who is our audience for housing? Young professionals, for instance, recent graduates, families, couples, singles, homeless, seniors, vets, disabled, up buyers, down buyers, new people to the area, and retirees. And I think that about covers our entire population. But they're all, at some point, looking for housing. The what? Do I want to rent or do I want to buy? Then having to consider the costs of renting or buying is another piece here. A lot of you listen to the news, and some people feel that it's cheaper to rent than it is to deal with a mortgage and the initial money that you have to put down. So anyway, as far as buyer's choices, again, like I said, we're missing the old starter homes. They now are going for the higher prices, and it's a whole different shift in the dynamics of our society as far as needs and availability. As far as what is out there, we have apartments, we have single-family, duplex, townhouses, ADUs, homes in established neighborhoods, assisted living complexes, existing low-income options, developments, communities, new and old, condos, multifamily, and senior-specific housing. Each of these I can identify, define for you, but I'm pretty sure that most of you are aware of what those definitions are. These also are found not only in the city, but in the county. So sometimes there's a big overlap in terms of numbers and availability and what there is. The ADU is something that's new. It is on the agenda of the governor. And for those of you that are not familiar with an ADU, I had to learn, Nick was polite enough to invite me to the webinar with his crew the other day and find out a little bit more about the ADUs. That stands for Accessory Dwelling Unit. Currently in Salisbury, there is one location, it's Harbor Point, where the ADU can be built on a property larger than 3 acres. That is according to the current zoning code. Currently, they are not allowed in the city. We don't have the land availability to put these ADUs in at the same, with the same acreage that you do outside. Anyway, here's the new demand. Per House Bill 1466 that was adopted in April of this year, land use and real property, local municipalities have to adopt a local law by October 1st, 2026, regarding the development of ADUs on land that has an existing single-family dwelling and owner-occupied. The owner would be able to build a detached or an attached dwelling on said property. This requires zoning codes to be amended to determine requirements, guidelines, setbacks, this kind of thing. But there are other counties that have had ADUs in place for, I guess it goes back to, I think, 2010, if I'm not mistaken. Some are not in the state of Maryland, but there are good resources for this. The other thing that we talked about was existing low-income options. And there are a lot that are listed. They use, I can go down the list, some of which, thank you to Councilwoman Jackson for filling me in on this piece because she has been involved in a lot of that. Mitchell Landing, Village at Mitchell's. The problem here is that it can be based, you may not make enough or you may make too much. The other piece, some of these are tax credit properties. Some are subsidized on income. You also have a percentage of income in vouchers and for other options, and some are designated for seniors. So income restricted thresholds, just to name a few, some do not necessarily have a one-bedroom option, which would be helpful for people finding low-income housing as well. So low-income housing involves the county as well. As you know, Booth Street is an example of that. There are other options outside of Salisbury, so we're considering Salisbury and the county when we talk about housing, obviously. Where? Location choices may be impacted by the following preferences. Do they want a newly annexed area? School district is a big, big deal when you talk to people moving to the area that have children. Amenities available, how close the amenities are to their choice. Certain district zoning. Availability for new appropriate growth and impact. and President Dowdy is looking into 3 of our districts that seem, or are ready to pursue additional growth in those areas. The 4-2 ordinance, which I lived through, and I'm going to tell you a little bit about that in a minute. Price is a factor. Incentives are a factor. Proximity to their work, city options, water and sewer, taxes, or do you go out into the county? And then you have septic issues and you have different taxing. So these are all reasons that people would decide where they might want to live. Touching on the 4-2 ordinance, I'm going to give you a little background on this. I obviously I live in a 4-2 district, and I'm going to share, for those of you who don't necessarily have some of the background, what really brought this about years ago. It was put in place to preserve home ownership among residents and provide stability for owners and their investment in their property. Parking issue and old neighbors, infrastructure were not able to handle a lot of this. The nice piece of the 4-2, quite frankly, is that it is only a small part of the city, primarily around the college, Newtown, and the park. And the reason being, obviously, for the college was the over-occupancy and the issues that come with college students. We all know what that is. Doesn't mean there's anything wrong with it. It just doesn't need to be in established neighborhoods based upon the 4-2 restriction. It only applies to single-family districts and older established areas. Putting that in place, when you talk about a city is comprised of neighborhoods, communities, developments. There's a big mix there. If you do away with your neighborhoods, you're losing a big chunk of, in my opinion, of what makes up a city. The other issues that prompted 4-2 were the noises from the overoccupied houses, the nuisance issues, parking not available, needing more supervision, either from the college participating with that, reprimanding, although they are really good about monitoring the students now. There's been a huge, huge difference because of the cooperation from the college, as well as Chief Mindshine's group, sorry, your officers. Anyway, the biggest problem with 4-2, I know people think that it's going to bring about a lot, much more housing, this type of thing. The 4-2, what we have now is college parents are buying homes. They are buying them for their child, and then they are occupying it with additional students. The additional rent that they are paid will pay that mortgage. There is no way a single family can afford to compete with that situation. Single-family homes become for-profit and potential income investments, and again, the families are then priced out of the market. Absentee landlords are another issue, and 4-2 helps us with that. Let's see, I want to try to summarize this a little more quickly, sorry. Like I said, SU has been they've collaborated with us at the time when 4-2 came into, was voted in. The college realized that they were not providing enough student housing. They were participants in these decisions, and they provided more housing, and that has been very advantageous to everybody. Muir shaking his head, you know exactly what, you went through this. With the influx of people unfamiliar with this ordinance, it has impacted current 4-2 neighborhoods and has created a problem. So that's a marketing, that's an educational piece, and that is something, we can work on. The other issue, I'm not discriminating, I'm not attacking or anything renters. Renters are not necessarily vested in an old neighborhood. With that comes the maintenance of the yard, the noise level, respect for behavior in a neighborhood, and the college has guidelines on how you behave in a neighborhood. So they're trying to, do their part as well. But the other problem is when it's a rental, it's not, you just don't have the same maintenance, and you can have great renters, but their obligation is not to be a stakeholder or to improve the property and maintain it. If you have too many rentals in an old neighborhood, unfortunately, some of the owners will move, and therein is the demise of the neighborhood. The first question we should be asking when it comes to 4-2, has this ordinance been effective? regardless of how old it is. If changing 4 to 2 or eliminating it is to find a quick fix, we need to know how much of an increase in inventory this will provide at the expense of existing owners in these neighborhoods. Changing it may backfire by not solving the housing issue, but disrupt the established balance and encourage buying up homes for profit-producing investments. You can tell I live in one of these, and it's worked out perfectly, but that's my bias. Sorry, council people. Okay, my next one is when. When do you buy or rent? A time or a deadline issue for the buyer or renter can be based on children in schools, jobs, new builds, that type of thing. The current pipeline of availability to rent or buy, currently there are 969 open permits for new buildings. Thank you, Nick. The economy is a big factor when you are going to buy or rent, financing options, and property available if you're looking to actually build. The last piece of this is how. If assistance or incentives are needed, here are some options. I will give you Molly's cell phone first. But the city of Salisbury offers a lot, an awful lot. Ann Street, and I'll give you just a quickie on each one of these. Ann Street is transitional housing. It's not full, to the best of my knowledge. The Horizon incentive is a tax credit waiver over 20 years, and we've had one commercial or one large project that has completed the Horizon guidelines. Here is home, waived fees and permits for residential developments. They approved 67, and it's still a viable project, and there's some in the pipeline. They're still working through that. The TIF, the tax increment financing, those taxes are applied to the infrastructure of a project. Abatements for first-time buyers. When a registered rental property in the city is turned over to a homeowner, there are no city taxes for 5 years, and then you have full taxes in 10 years. Housing First has addressed and taken on 11 families with assistance with rent. The grants are no longer available for that. Another option when you talk about how to find rent or homes or how to make it happen is we need to possibly look at an option of a contractor, availability of a name of a contractor who is willing to specifically build particular houses at a particular price. And there's a group, it's Backyard, I forget the name, that they only do ADUs. So there are possibilities for this, that you find a contractor that is willing to make an agreement upfront so that you have something affordable, or you have the ADU, or you have something specific in mind. Research incentives for developers. This is another perk that is a how on how you can have housing or rentals. New buyers. There is one developer in town that offers helps to pay for infrastructure, assists with closing costs, offers warranties, things like that, buy downs, and that's something that would be specific to a particular development that you would be interested in purchasing or renting, well, purchasing. The options here are for renters and or for buyers, so you have to determine which. Another thing we've talked about is developers that are required to put in a tier system. This is happening in other communities in the state. Revolving loan funds. That is, you finance upfront capital expenses for developers. Revitalization grants. Molly can tell you everything about that through Habitat and Salisbury Neighborhood Housing. Then that comes from federal CBD grants. Federal and state grants assistant, there are first-time buyer grants and different grants that are, earmarked for particular situations and locations. Section 8 is another federal funding. Green Street is low-income housing, and they are offering, you have options with low income there. There are banking partnerships out there. There's one it goes by the title HomeAbility, and it's from the Maryland Mortgage Program. That's a 30-year first-time home buyers with disabilities. So we have to hit every single person that is needing housing. Another is Federal Home Loan Bank of Atlanta. It's another banking partnership that offers help for new buyers. So, the Housing Trust Funds is something Wycomico County set up, and those funds can be earmarked for particular projects, the money that is acquired through that. Owning a home is contingent upon available jobs and the salaries needed to support the mortgage and being able to afford the down payment. So does renting end up being cheaper than having a mortgage? That is a personal decision and seems to be in the works right now. All right, in summary, the reality of the current housing situation when we do have the inventory for buyers is they may not be buying right now because, again, the same things we all know about: economy, jobs, salaries, interest rates, high cost of construction. On the other side, there are renters who may need assistance or don't have what they feel is a decent salary, and some people feel that landlords are overcharging, and so the renters can't afford the rent. Keep in mind, your developers and your landlords and management companies, they are responsible to pay. They have responsibilities: taxes, material costs, lost revenue, repairs from damage, turnover, adhering to the state requirements and restrictions, which there are more coming down the pike, regarding lead, building energy standards, etc. And then when you have a large influx of workers, which we have had in this past year, that creates more demand, and it's associated with the price, because then you get into the fair market price as compared to other places. So I just have a suggestion. What's my time, Michelle? You time me? Okay.
You're over your 3 minutes, sorry.
Okay. So after going through all this, I found it very interesting. And I also found it, it's a problem that we have. This is not anything new. And it is across the board, as I just went through with who, what, when, how, and where. So I feel that we as a city need to develop plans that are put into action, not just keep passing the buck or write up another plan, but actually put well-thought-out, sustainable plans into action. No quick fixes. Prioritize what can be done tomorrow and then follow a logical plan and a timeline. Here are my suggestions. There may be, and this is my personal side as well, and a lot of these things may already be happening, and if they are, please share with me and update me. We need to update the zoning codes. We need to improve code enforcement, research vacant buildings and lots for building opportunities, continue to encourage infill development and its benefits, determine districts or areas that are shovel-ready for additional housing and market these opportunities. Use incentives that benefit the investor, the taxpayer, and the needs of the city. Evaluate the permitting process if there are delays in that area. Be aware of the current inventory of homes to purchase based on MLS. Currently, the number of active or coming soon homes in Wycomico County are at 152, and 47 in the city that are under $225,000. Create a sustainable plan to fill the need for lower-income housing to rent or buy, bringing all the stakeholders together for an action plan that will change that 70-30 percentage. The homeless population is close to my heart. It's not one broad definition. So determine how to evaluate this issue and determine the ability and needs of the credible clients and other specific services and education for them to be successful long-term instead of just a Band-Aid and just fixing it for the weather. I know that one piece with that, if I may add a little PS here, is that when I talked with Director Boda, you've got to find the people to work in your department that are able to deal with and offer and service these wraparound services that they need. Research federal money available to address the homeless with mental issues. In my opinion, they do not fit in that big lump stereotypical homeless group. There are 4 areas that I have no data to back it up, but I think that there are some homeless people that want to be in camps. There are homeless people that have addiction and mental problems that really need help that is beyond our pay grade. But I do think there are ones that need a hand up, and those that have had situational issues that have made them homeless that our department is helping currently. There are other areas that deal with homelessness, the Interfaith Shelter in Easton, Halo here, Christian Shelter, HHEH, Diaconia in Worcester County, Georgetown, Delaware. There are other ideas out there. Some have not been successful, some have. So that's another piece that is an ongoing project for our housing department, as you well know. We need to evaluate, modify, and restart previous incentive programs. Continue with collaborating with Salisbury Neighborhood Housing to make city-owned distressed properties available for home ownership. And I would like to see one spot, just one spot. I don't know if this is even doable or if it's already in place, where everything is in one place. I could go to this website and I would be able to find whatever I needed to rent or own. That would mean contact names, phone numbers, summaries of what they offer, who would qualify, who doesn't, and then that would hopefully keep people all on the same page, asking questions that needed to be answered, and you would prevent a lot of frustrations. I would also like to see, if possible on the agenda, President Doherty, if we could have an update on any of the plans that have been determined that we're putting in place to make progress with the housing, if we could have a report on a monthly basis, whatever you decide, to update the public and the council on what is happening. I hope this has been beneficial. I found it very enlightening, and if you have anything I left out, I'm happy to add it, and thank you for your time.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Yeah, that's it's hard to stop it at one point. Again, it's housing, and we want to keep it kind of broad, but then focus in on where the city can put it. So thank you for doing the research and for soliciting help from many of our resources that we have in the city, and then, of course, in our neighborhoods. Council, I want to give it to us before we bring some staff up to help kind of fill in some small gaps. Again, we won't solve everything today, but we'll kind of maybe start to chart our path forward and where we need to put some efforts in. Council, any thoughts?
I do.
Yes.
I really think when we let developers come in, there should be a quota of how many affordable housing or tax credit houses or apartments that we put in these developments. Because if we're building apartments and townhomes that are $1,500 a month, people can't afford them. They can't afford them. And even with some of the new developments that are supposed to be affordable, I've had so many phone calls where the rent is just about overcoming their income. And they're crying out because they're like, I don't have any money to really pay my bills. These are seniors. And they're like, I'm going to have to go find a job. Can you imagine a senior at 80 years old finding a job in their mid-70s and 80? No. No, not at all. A lot of the developments require you, not all of them, require you to have at least 2 people on an application to get in. And if your income is too low, you won't get in. And if your income is too high, you won't get in. So where do we've got to meet in the middle with this, because we're still leaving people out. And that's why so many people are homeless today, because they're not making enough money to get in at all. And then some of them who can't afford the $1,500 homes or apartments, they're being left out because they can't afford it. They can't. Even tax credit, it's really, I didn't know that a lot of these apartments, instead of them going to Section 8, they're going to tax credit. They're going to tax credit. And they're getting around the Section 8 and they're leaving people out of the loop, and a lot of people do not understand it. But I'm understanding it better now, so I would love to see the city, when we implement the city planning and zoning, that we would implement that when people come in, because we need to hold people accountable for what they're building in our city and county. Because they're coming in here and they're just throwing up stuff, and then they're leaving. They don't even care how it's taken care of. And some of them, you do have more than one person living in them, and I can vouch for that. You do have numerous of people living in a lot of these apartments because, and I'm gonna tell you, it's not because they can't afford it. Some of them, it's not because they can't afford it, and I'll be the one to tell the truth. It's just because it's greed, and it makes it harder for the next person to get a place. But if we're doing the tax credit, we're doing tax credit. Okay, I'll go in there. I'm gonna say I make $600 to $800. Bring home $800. My income is not high enough to get in. I have a child. Still may not be, because your yearly gross. They're going by your yearly gross. They're not going by what you bring home. They're going by your yearly gross. So it leaves people in a dilemma, and that's why a lot of families are homeless today, because of those methods of how things are being changed, and we're not noticed. People haven't noticed what's going on, but I have noticed it is tax credit property, and it's not really subsidized anymore. It's not.
Councilwoman Jackson, that's a good point, and that Councilwoman DeShiel was talking about. I know we have members of the public mention to us as a city put that into our code and mandate new developments to have affordable options. So, and I think that's, we've had some staff look into it. How do we, when we tell a developer or tell anyone, again, I'm not speaking for any one entity, but Councilwoman DeShiel mentioned that management companies, taxpayers, and whoever the developer, whoever's building that property, they have to pay that portion. How do we as a city subsidize, or what are we telling them? Are we just mandating a certain number and then just leaving that be, or are we offering an incentive? How does that look? How do we begin to have that conversation moving forward to direct one way or the other? How do we move that ball forward?
Well, if they're building 75 units, why can't at least 10 or 15 of them be affordable?
Other jurisdictions have broken it down, so you have a percentage of different, and actually, without putting somebody on the spot, Bob Taylor shared with us at one of our council meetings what has been established that could be required of developers. That would be a starting point, as far as I'm concerned.
Yes, and some of those, the city offer, the county, the entity offers an incentive to help subsidize that. Is that something that we, yeah, I'm just asking the question to make sure that that's,
just review some of the, make it.
Yes.
I guess the feedback that I have gotten when I've asked questions about this and read things and whatever, is that it needs to be beneficial for everybody. In other words, you don't come in and tell me this is what I'm bringing and it's not anything I need. And it should be based on what we need, what our city needs, what our people here need, not just to satisfy a stranger or someone who's decided this is great pickings, we get everything we want if we move in here.
Sure.
So that's the feedback I've gotten.
Yeah, I think that's true. I mean, within the same project, you could do, a portion of it being set aside, and you can subsidize that,
right?
Which is incentivize that is different than a subsidy over the first 5 to 7 or 7 to 10 years, and then it phase out. But I agree. I think that's the way to do it if we're going to do it that way, particularly on the rental product. On the purchase side, it becomes difficult because, you're laying off potential profit on some percentage of the housing stock that they can't get their full price. And I don't know how you fully incentivize that part, but you could certainly possibly hold the taxes on the set aside, the property tax side, to attribute to the affordability component of it. We have to get the county to participate maybe, but I think that's a way of getting it, no impact, no connection fees for those houses, and then maybe some reduction in the taxes. So, but it needs to be done because it's expensive.
Yeah.
It really is.
Well, Mayor Taylor, can you, from what I'm hearing as council, and then you were even supportive of this, can we have staff maybe draft something up in the next few weeks or so, maybe bring that to us to see what it looks like, or what numbers make sense, or can we? Yeah, okay, good. And then I don't know if staff wants to kind of address anything on that sort of 4-2 that Councilwoman DeShiel was talking about with the governor's office mandating that next year, if we want to bring that forward before then. And the ADUs, I know we have one here in the city, if any staff member wants to kind of speak to that at some point, and what we have moving forward to kind of mitigate and come before the state of Maryland.
I didn't mean to cut you off. I was just going to say, I took pretty copious notes, and if the council would permit it, I'd like to take the opportunity to invite these folks to the table, and then also any areas where we're not able to respond to you tonight, we'd like a chance to get back.
Please, thank you.
Also, I would like, Sharon, if you would not mind sharing what you just,
do you want, okay.
send that out to all.
Okay.
Yeah,
All
I
right.
would love to just be able to
Okay.
read what you.
I know, I'm visual, and here I make you listen to it.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
so that would be very helpful for me, just going back to be able to make.
helpful for us all.
Oh, yeah, definitely, but I do want to also highlight.
It's a lot.
I know, I didn't mean to just.
No, you're good. It was good, though.
I do want to highlight real quick in the community-based services trend in care, whether that is elder care, whether that is disability care. That's something that I think the ADUs are going to be coming, that's going to become a huge hot button issue. I'm hearing about it more and more being in the community-based services community, you know, in that world. That conversation is becoming a very hot topic. Because you're having more and more folks who are receiving care in the home.
Yeah.
And those ADUs are going to become very, very valuable to families like my own, or folks who are, you know, of my generation, who are looking at having to care for parents. And they still have kids at home. You know, I mean, like those kind of families are going to need that ADU option. So I'd really like to see us get that started ASAP.
Well, the webinar that Betsy and Nick and three other members of his department watched last week was very informative in terms of coming up with, here are suggested guidelines that, you know, would be applicable to your community, and some of the hurdles, which I thought was interesting. You don't want to make it so rigid, but you also don't want to get caught, i.e., Nick and I were talking, is it, according to what they shared, the owner occupies the house on the property.
Right.
Now, when they put an ADU on, we would have to clarify, is that going to be, they can rent it, can he sell it? When he sells it, how does that impact taxes? How does that impact the owner of the single-dwelling home?
Yeah, that's something that's
So there are a lot of little quirky pieces to figure out in addition.
Yeah, the webinar, was it something that was recorded that could be watched again? Could you send me the information on that, because I'd be really interested in watching that.
Yeah.
Thank you, Tom and staff. We want to maybe take 15, 20 minutes, just because I know we have some public comments I know we want to hear from, and then the closed session, and then we're going to bring this forward again and kind of bite-size to different topics. So I'll leave it to you all to whatever you want to kind of break off for us to chew on now.
Oh, okay. And I have been properly scolded by Julie for, so after this meeting, I'll go sit in a corner for 5 minutes.
Yes.
Think about my life. So what I handed out to you, council, was speaking on, kind of touching on the point that Sharon was touching on about the zones, or the zoning that areas that are affected by 4-2. So it's R5, R8, R10. And like she said, that covers most of the single-family neighborhoods. What I have provided you is just kind of like a label on those areas through the city, and all of those dots are houses that are registered rental units. So the one side is the north side of the city, the other side is kind of like south of 50, where most of our traditional single-family neighborhoods are. So when you look, it shows you where the concentration of our rental properties are within the city.
And so that's just kind of like an informational thing to consider. And, I know it's, 4-2's been around for about 20 years. So it's, well, Mark?
Mark?
Yeah. So, I think it's, this is, again, my perspective is that, taking that and just ripping the Band-Aid off and then saying, here you go, absolutely not. If you are going to do anything with it, my suggestion would be use something that's in existence. An example is International Property Maintenance Code, which specifically specifies a property based on how many bedrooms, how many bathrooms, size of bedrooms. So for instance, if you have a bedroom that is 70 square feet, that bedroom by International Zoning Code is, or ICC is one person per bedroom for 70 square feet. If you add an additional 50 square feet, you can have 2 people in the bedroom. And a bathroom will support 4 people in a house. Does not include a bathroom where you have to go through another bedroom. So like a master bedroom and there's a bathroom, that doesn't count in the formula because it's not accessible to the house. So looking at our rental properties now and those that are approved and then those that are in many of the neighborhoods where there's 4 bedrooms, 5 bedrooms, but they fall under the 2, you may gain some people in those houses, but for the most part, you may not see much change on how many people can stay in the house, especially on the approved 3 and 4s. That's, those would not change for the most part. We went through, looking through them, maybe 4 or 5 properties will change occupancy. Because if they're designated a 3 when they went through everything 20 years ago, that's what they were looking at was how many bedrooms, and that's part of the reason why they determined some could be 3, some could be 4. So the other piece you have to look at it and again, part of this can be, whatever legislation is, whatever we do on the side when we approve any properties that are rental registrations, if they fall into that category, a piece of it could be, what's the available off-street parking? Because, if you go through any neighborhood now, especially my neighborhood, every house has 1 or 2 cars outside parked on the street. Most of the driveways in my neighborhood in Doverdale can support 1, maybe 2 cars. And so you do have a lot of people that are, and one of the things we struggle with is their family. And, we have a lot of them that we're investigating, somebody who owns 5 houses and they're the owner occupant of 5 houses. Well, you can't live in 5 places at once, but then everybody else is family. So that's one of the hardest things we're struggling with is that piece is in there as what a family unit is. But, I think if you go more towards what would be more enforceable is how many people can actually live in the house. And if it's 3 people, it's 3 people, not 15. So, anyway.
Mayor, can I ask a question?
Sure.
How far does this go west of 50?
The map?
Yeah.
So when you go up in some of those other areas, they are R5A, R10A. They're different. So you have mostly, I think I don't know, I might have missed, did I miss Delaware?
I think when you get further west, those are
Yeah.
A's.
Yeah.
They're what?
They're A's.
They're A's. Yeah, that was the reason I,
Restriction.
Yeah.
Their maximum number of unrelated people is 4, and then 5, 8, or 10A.
is that the pink one?
I think one of the issues that, we found as neighbors was because it became a for-profit issue, and this will happen if you get rid of it, if it becomes for-profit. These, I know, speaking to the college kids that, I've gotten to know that were living behind me, they were paying a lot of rent because the landlord that owned it, the rent's high, and he knows good and well, we took him to court, and it still didn't make any difference, because these kids were paying a lot. The rent was high, and they were overoccupied. But on the lease, it had 2 renters. And your hands are tied as far as inspections and, checking on things. And it seemed to be, in my opinion, the only recourse we have to prevent this absolute chaos that was going on.
Yeah, let me give you a better example.
Wait a minute, Mayor, I'm sorry. Why is it, I'm kind of confused here. We have housing on the west side of Salisbury, developments. So you're saying to me that the 4.2 doesn't apply to those?
No.
It's by
Not
district.
in the
Yeah, no, not for that.
No.
It's by district. It's only the three residential zones that are affected.
But why? It's a residential neighborhood.
They wanted to preserve the community.
We're not
They want to
there
preserve communities.
24 years ago when Mr. Tillman and I went through this.
But then that's something we need to work on, because there are a lot of people living
Yeah,
there.
overoccupied, yeah.
Yes.
Let me give you an example. I had a house, I do historic restoration. I bought a house at 917, I'll be bold about it, East Church Street. And I held on to it. It was a 1920s house, great floor plan. Looking forward to renovating it. Just got busy, ended up selling it. The guy that I sold it to ended up spending, pick a number, 9 months. Usually I take a year and a few months. Took 9 months renovating it. Sold it, 900 block of East Church Street, $350,000. I went by and looked at it 7 to 8 months later. We 15 pairs of shoes on the front porch, and they weren't all size 11. So
occupied.
So that's and that's not the only one.
Yeah.
We know that.
Yep.
But that's where I come from, a level of frustration. It changes the market. So for someone like me, who's looking to spend $100,500 on a property like that and sell it for $60-ish, $240, whatever, I can't compete with that guy.
And the mayor and I have even gone to some HOAs over there, and they have constantly complained about it. And like I said, if we're going to do it for some areas, do it for majority of the areas that are much needed. I mean, because it seems like to me you have downgraded to a whole nother area, which is probably College Avenue, Beagland Park, Pinehurst, but what? Go ahead.
No, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to.
But it's some of these areas. I don't see anything that looks like.
Can you explain what this map was again?
Sassafras Village.
Yes, that's what I'm saying.
But just can you?
Yeah. So what this area here is are traditional single-family neighborhoods in the city. And so they are traditionally marked as R10, R5, R8.
I understand that. Listen to what I'm saying. There are other developments that are coming up that they're doing the same thing that you're trying to stop over here. They're doing it over there.
But they weren't there when this was put in place, is that correct?
But this is what I'm saying. Now do something about it.
Yeah.
Let us do something about it, because it's becoming an eyesore, and it's some of those people that are living there, the residents that are living there, they're tired of the common nuisance.
Yep.
They're really tired of it, and it's become hectic, and I've seen it for myself. So like I said, if we're going to do it for some general areas, let's do it for all the general areas that are homes.
I would point out that, and we have dealt with some of the, when it's reported to us, over occupancies in R10A, R8A, R5A, because when in those situations, as they're not subject to 4-2, they are subject to the ICC, or International Zoning Code, and International Residential Code, International Property Maintenance Code. That's what we use for the others. So in those situations, when they're reported to us, we investigate it. When if property, a lot of times we don't get to do an inspection until a property transfers. And so part of that issue is we require them to show us the tenant's rights lease addendum. If they do not, then we stop the inspection. We reschedule it, and they'll pay us a $100 administrative fee. And if they don't have it the second time, they get a $500 fine. Yes. But on that paper, shows us how many people they've signed on the lease, because each tenant's required to sign that.
Thank you.
So that there is, so we do, when we come across it, we address it.
Yeah, I wanted you to, I was trying to get you to, I understand Councilwoman Jackson's point, which is true, but I wanted to make sure we're not like just looking at these areas. And so I wanted to make sure that you spoke up on that. I was kind of getting you there, but can we, I want to make sure that we, if you can, just briefly touch on, you know, it's not just yes or no. It's not we have 42 or we don't. It's we can amend it and make it. Hopefully, we can make it 20 years later. We can amend it to make it look like and make it beneficial for our residents now. What does amending possibly have you all? I know that we've been in conferences and et cetera, and we see here that it possibly has some implications. You know, some fair housing. What does amending look like so that we're still being mindful of occupancy limits and parking concerns, but we're not just, like the mayor said, having 15, you know, persons in one, having overcrowded residents?
As far as amending the zoning code for
amending, I don't want. So 42 brought, again, the reason why 42 was brought up to preserve the neighborhoods, to make sure that we have overoccupied, you know, neighborhoods. What does that look like when there's? I mean, we're talking about it because there's concerns over it now. Over is it right? Is it legal? Are we implicating? Are we you know, certain persons? You know, for their 4 nurses or living together, we're talking about this now. Should we, or is there any reason to amend it to make sure that it looks and reflects our current day-to-day 20 years later? I mean, lots changed in 20 years. Or do we leave it as is and just?
I'll be very straightforward about this. To date, we have made no effort to unwind 42. It has been a discussion, but we've made no effort to make a modification to that law.
It sounds like part of the question is maybe even possibly expanding it to not have the overcrowding in some of the other areas that aren't on this map.
Yes.
And, you know, insofar as anything applies currently in the code to certain zoning districts like these, it could be expanded, it could be contracted. That's the type of thing we need feedback on, and we can look at and present different options.
Even with regard to the A districts, they're limited to 4 unrelated people. So if you have a situation where you feel like you have more than 4 unrelated people, in April, it sounds like, forgive me, Councilwoman Jackson, sounds like that might be an issue, then Muir and his team need to know about that so that they can go through the investigative process.
If anything, I think, you know, if you knock on the door and they don't answer and they got 15 cars in the front yard, you know, obviously, and it's 15 pairs of shoes, you have a problem. They can not answer. And then you need administrative warrants. So those are the issues with it. I think, listen, we're all trying to live together. There's an affordability issue here, we get that part. But then there's an impact to the community part. And so you got to maintain balance. So I think if we need anything, it's probably tools to try and unwind some of these things, you know?
So if 4 to 2 has been effective, which I think the feedback I have gotten is, yes, it has been very effective and can continue to be effective, but updating it, as Councilman Jackson has asked, since when it was put in place, there were areas that were not developed and didn't have the single-family residence requirement. So maybe it just needs to be extended, amended by extension, not amending by eliminating or adjusting.
Yep.
Thank you. Anything on that you want to briefly touch on with ADUs? I know Councilwoman DeShield mentioned ADUs. Anything you want to mention, or any research or pathways forward?
As she pointed out, the state law now requires us to implement that by next October, so we're definitely going to want feedback in terms of how we do that, the little nuances of it. Do you have to occupy the house? Does a relative have to occupy the ADU? Exactly how will that play out, and how do we want to execute that? So. And I think it could obviously be something that takes some pressure off of the housing market. If it's a few hundred units over a few years get built, it's hopefully going to lower prices and help families stay together, everything like that.
What is this something your office is already researching, or is this something that we can start?
A little bit.
Okay.
I just wanted to add that one concern that we have with the state legislation is that they are requiring us to do a citywide parking study if you want to control parking with regards to ADUs? Like, you can't just say, we want one parking space per ADU. You have to have the data to back it up, so that's going to be an expense and something to consider possibly before enacting it.
You mean they can't do it an evaluation on a site-by-site basis, that they have parking off-site?
Basically, if we want to put a rule that for every ADU you have to build a parking space or 2 parking spaces, we can't make that a rule unless we have a citywide parking study to validate it.
So the state's still doing some research about like what a parking study looks like for that. But it's definitely something to keep in mind
Potential grant.
quickly.
I'm sure if the state's mandating it, there might be some potential grants if we want, hopefully there is something, but I don't know if that's something that we want to.
I think maybe that's what they're still looking into it more.
Yeah, the webinar, it sounded like this was still in discussion.
Okay.
I looked at doing an ADU in my backyard near my house, which is in the historic district, which has its own complications with Jay Corvian. That said, I wonder if the state would exclude that from an assessment going forward, because your minimum cost, you're looking at 70, 80, 90,000 bucks, and that would just be on top of an already upward mobile assessment situation we're in the state right now.
Smaller towns, obviously, we could probably scrape that together, though it wouldn't be easy as a city, $80,000, but a tiny town, it's going to be kind of crippling. Then they can't put in a parking regulation, then they might get into the headaches that would lead.
Yeah, go with it, yeah, okay.
Plus, didn't they say that additional information will be available in the spring of '26? And you think, but you're mandating this for the fall of the same year. So, yeah.
That makes sense.
A lot of little if, ands, or buts that they pointed out, which was mind-boggling.
Well, it sounds like we have some direction on the affordability piece. We'll start to hear some murmurs on that hopefully soon. Perhaps we'll hear some research with the ADUs. The 4-2, it sounds like we want to expand to some other districts and see how that looks like with some expansion there. But it sounds like we should be hearing some things in the next months or so. We'll look to you all, but we'll keep it. We'll give you some time to do that, but we want to make sure we also keep this as a consistent and constant conversation. So thank you all for this. Thank you, Councilwoman DeShiel, for leading us in this discussion. Thank you, administration, for being a part of this, and we will keep this very fluid. So again, thank you all for that. We will pivot to the public comment portion of the agenda. Again, you will have 3 minutes on any of the above items.
Thank you, guys.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
We ask you just state your name if you are a city resident, and then Councilwoman Gregory, make sure you have your.
I've got my trigger finger on it now.
Thank you. And again, you all may go up to the podium. There's no order.
I'm Mark Tillman. For most of my life, I was a city resident, but I moved out to the county.
Oh, my God.
Only because my wife and I needed a bigger house, because we have 4 sons and they're women, and now a 6th grandson on the way. So when they come to visit us, we're a packed house. But what I love what April said about expanding 4-2. I think 4-2, I know it saved my neighborhood where I grew up from the age of 5 until I was, 60 years old or close to it. And the whole idea of 4-2 really is to prevent new boarding houses from cropping up in neighborhoods. And there's no reason in the world why the neighborhoods that you mentioned shouldn't share in that, because it sounds like they're suffering right now. And but it's critically important that it's funny, everybody, when we did 4-2, everybody said, well, you're just trying to help traditional families, but I think the definition pretty much would include any family you might imagine. But they have to be a group of people that are living together, sharing expenses, sharing income, and building a life together. They can't just be people that some landlord threw together in order to make more money, because that's what was happening. I mean, what precipitated 4-2 was the house that my best friend grew up in right up the street became a college rental. It was packed full of people. They had people in the basement, people in the attic. And I thought, this is nuts. And my wife said, every Christmas, our neighborhood's emptying because these guys are all going home for Christmas vacation. These are not families living here. And the amount at the time, it may seem ridiculous now, but I think back, all those years ago, the landlords were getting $400 a head. I'm sure the number is much higher now. And if that's the case, then the houses that we own, and I still own my home on College Avenue. I'm not living there right now, but I still own it and I take care of it. But my wife and I think have come to the realization that eventually we're going to have to sell it. And, getting rid of 4-2 would benefit me financially because I could, pack the house or do whatever, but I don't want you to do that. To me, the integrity of the neighborhood is the most important thing we can do. I mean, as you pointed out, the 30 and 70% ratio, we need more home ownership, not less. And individuals who are competing with landlords renting to many college students cannot compete. I mean, single families can't compete with that.
Thank you, Mr. Tillman.
Thanks, Mark.
Hello again. I'm like bad breath. You can't get rid of me. What I wanted to say was I worked with Mark a lot on developing the 4-2 ordinance. I got involved with it. I live over on the park, and I was concerned that if it was just in the Camden area, that the landlords and the college students were then going to come over into our area. So we're in one of those R districts that Tom mentioned, and we have it, and I don't think there's any question that it's helped preserve the neighborhood and stabilize the values. And Ms. Jackson, I will say this, I mean, you may not have heard us, but I stood right here at this podium 20 years ago, and we asked if anybody else wanted to be included. And my recollection is that Spring Chase, which is a PRD, they asked to come in, and they're included in the 4-2. They're the one area that's not just one of the R districts. But I say, yeah, expand it, and if it'll help, do it. Because there's a lot of logic to it. And there's plenty of other parts of the city that are A districts and others that can have apartments that are not limited with the 4-2 legislation. And just point out on the 4-2, it's not limited to just 4 people. You can have a regular family, like Mark mentioned. They could have 8 kids, and they're not prohibited from being in the 4-2 district. So it's worth having. One thing that it's also done, just so you know, 2014 was the peak year for enrollment at Salisbury University. And up until that time, it had been booming. I mean, it really grew like gangbusters from about 2000 to about 2010 or 12. Then it began to flatline, hit a peak in 2000, it's dropped. Since that time, there's been over 1,000 student housing units built. University Orchard, that's 650. I was the lawyer for that one, so I'm pretty familiar with it, been through it many times. Gateway, right across Division Street from it, that's another one. And of course, the Ross. And just getting back to the Horizon program, you got 220 units that are going to be built down here, maybe, on that big parking lot that y'all sold as surplus. They're going to be coming in asking for the Horizon program. What are they going to do for affordable housing? How about the hotel that Simpson wants to build? The guy that did the Ross, he got his hand out and got the Horizon for that. He's going to be coming in asking for more. What's he going to do for affordable housing? Think about it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Stefan Feliciano. I'm a resident of the city of Salisbury. Our community, like many others, is grappling with a growing and urgent crisis. Let me repeat that. Is grappling with a growing and urgent crisis, the lack of attainable housing. I'm here today with a heavy heart, but a hopeful spirit, because this issue isn't merely a statistic. It's a profound human crisis affecting families, individuals, and the very fabric of our shared community. National organizations have provided ample evidence of this widespread issue, yet finding local solutions seems challenging. While some argue for prioritizing jobs over housing or vice versa, I believe we can and must address both concurrently. Data provides crucial insights, but we must never forget the human stories behind the numbers. It's imperative that we humanize this data, ensuring technology serves humanity. Countless individuals in our community struggle daily to afford a decent home, facing agonizing choices between rent, groceries, or utilities. The resulting stress significantly impacts their physical and mental well-being. These are our neighbors, the baristas at Dunkin' Donuts who serve our coffee, the Walmart greeter in Fruitland with their consistent smiles as we shop, and the gig workers driving for Uber, DoorDash, and Instacart who brings us our meals and groceries. Their stability is essential to our community's vibrancy. The lack of obtainable housing also profoundly impacts our local economy. When residents spend a disproportionate amount on rent, less money circulates in local businesses, stifling economic growth. Unstable housing also contributes to job insecurity and reduced productivity. Investing in attainable housing is an investment in our community's future. It creates opportunities for families to thrive, build stronger neighborhoods, and stimulates our local economy. I urge you to prioritize and act on the urgent need for attainable housing. Support initiatives that will provide safe, decent, and affordable homes for everyone. Your commitment and investment in our community will have a lasting positive impact for generations to come. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you.
Riley Smith again. I lived next to 3 college residents, and they've all moved out and been replaced by families. And it's like spending your life at the wildest amusement park you could possibly imagine, 24 hours a day, versus peaceful people who are part of the community and the neighborhood, not throwing beer cans and panties in the front yard and everything else that goes along with it, unrelated people. And I'm also living next to exceptions to 4 to 2. And again, this is my slogan: college boys are animals, and there's nothing you're going to do to change them. They're going to change themselves when they grow up and find out that they do have to be people when they actually go out and get a job. But in the meantime, us people that live next to them have to put up with it. So cramming as many people in a house as you can possibly do does not work, especially unrelated people. Thank you.
Thank you.
Molly Hilligoss, resident of the city of Salisbury and, of course, CEO of Habitat for Humanity. First of all, I would really like to thank you, Councilwoman DeShiel, for giving an overview of all the different types of housing and the needs, and I thought that was really helpful for the public. What the public may not understand, the tax credit properties that you were talking about. So basically, there's 4 different income buckets for those properties. So if you make between 0 and 30% of the area median income, that's one bucket. They only have 25% of the units available for people in that income. Then it shifts to the families that earn between 30 and 60%, and then 60 to 80%, and then market rate. And so one of the challenges for families living in tax credit properties is when they make too much from the bucket that they were assigned, they can't live there anymore. So that's a real problem. So this affordability issue is really complicated when it comes to housing. But I do want to point out that in the last 15 years, a 2-bedroom fair market rent here in Salisbury, 2010, it was $837. 2025, it's $1,570, an 88% increase. Now, when you look at the median household income, and we looked at it by Census Tract 5 in the city limits, so this is median income. Median incomes for that same 15-year time period only rose 24% versus the 88% of the increase in rents. So there is another really big problem here that you guys can't control that, right? You can't control the incomes, you can't control the rents. And I hear what everyone says about safe neighborhoods that are quiet, to raise your family, to live in peace. I love where I live, it's very quiet, I love it, except for the dog 3 doors down. But anyway.
It's not mine, is it?
Right, minus that dog. But what I will say is really challenging at Habitat for Humanity is that when families are ready to become homeowners and they are earning under 80% of the AMI, so for a family of 4, that's like $75,000 a year. They can only afford a mortgage for about $150,000. So that leaves us a gap of $100,000. So all those down payment assistance programs you talked about, the most I can get for someone is $40,000. So I'm still short $60,000 for one family. That is a huge problem. And so I'm out of time, but this is a challenge for you all, the mayor, the administration, the council, your budget. Find the money, the additional down payment assistance to help these families become homeowners. Thank you.
Thank you. While the next person's coming up, I just went on and Googled rentals in Salisbury while Councilwoman Dishill was speaking, and that number is pretty accurate for a 2-bedroom, 2-bath. We're looking at 15 or so, and again, most places are required. It was 2.5. Now they're requiring between 2.5 and 3 times the rent for that person. So again, do with that information but those are real numbers that persons are having to find housing in our area with the jobs that we have in our area. Please excuse me. Anyone else wishing to speak on the topics mentioned in our work session?
I knew she couldn't sit there low.
Hi, everybody. So, my name is Lynn Bratton, and I am currently still in the city of Salisbury and have been here since 1973. But anyway, and I'm also a landlord, and I think a lot that I'm thrilled that you did what you did, Sharon. It's excellent. My concern on a lot of this is, as we look at the increase in the price of living in homes and renting them, just like Molly talked about, the increase in the differential of what people can afford, we also have to look at the cost of the increase in lumber costs. You know about that when you're building, the increase in the cost of a smoke detector, the increase in the cost of keeping the gasoline in the vehicle to cut the grass. The cost to maintain the properties has also gone up. The insurance, the taxes, all of that has also gone up. So everything, the 800 that was 800 in 2014, yeah, it might be 12 or 15 now, but some of that stuff is also because everything has just gotten more expensive on the maintenance side of it. And the one thing that kind of is missing from all of this conversation, I just have to say it, is transportation. You know, we need jobs. We do need good paying jobs. We need stable neighborhoods. And we keep talking about you need to have a car, you need to have a car, we need to have a place to park the cars. But we do absolutely, transportation needs to go hand in hand with all of these conversations. A good, reliable, dependable public transportation that can get the elderly, the disabled, the young teenager that wants to get a part-time job somewhere but doesn't have transportation, the car, the family that doesn't have a car that needs to get people to a doctor's appointment. They're spending so much of their income on taxis and Ubers, and they can't even do the Ubers, most of them, because you have to have a credit card or something to even make some of that work. So it's cash out of their pockets, and that's just money that's just going out that they can't use for food or any sort of like a field trip for their child or something. So we need to put that in the mix too. And it didn't come out because you were talking about housing, but I think if we're going to look holistically at it, we got to look at the transportation piece too, not just bicycles or scooters, but some reliable mass transit that'll get you from point A to point B in the middle of a storm and in the winter when it's cold. Thank you very much. That's it.
Thank you. Thank you. Say what you want about the city of Baltimore, but look into their transportation systems. Again, my cousin is a resident of Baltimore. She's 16, one of those. But she's working a summer job. She's able to commute from her job to her program. It is remarkable. Say what you want about the city. They're doing some things right. And I'll leave you with that.
No, I agree.
Thank you. Again, anyone else wishing to speak on the above topics? Seeing none, thank you all for providing feedback, and thank you for adding to this conversation, adding pieces that we missed, adding pieces of your personal stories. This makes all of this work well. We have our homework here on this end. Again, continue to share. If there's something that we may have missed, or if you're watching virtually, email us, all city council members at Salisbury MD, or give us a call, because again, this is something that we need to start seeing traction move on. At least by 2026, we want to see some traction move in whatever direction we decide that's right for our residents. So thank you again for that. We will pivot now to any administration comments.
I don't have anything, thank you.
I just want to compliment everyone for participating in this conversation about housing. It's complicated. I think we're all trying to deal with the lack of affordability that's kind of come upon us in the last few years. On the subject of transportation, we've spent several months looking at bus options and setting up a couple different versions. But I think if you look at the city of Baltimore and you compare it to us, I mean we've got a budget of $70 million.
I know. That's always the yes, I know.
I could do a lot with $4.6 billion.
Yes.
I'll get you a bus system. But to your point. Yeah, I'll get you one. I'll get you one quick. But it is challenging with limited resources, and so and I see both sides. I empathize with the 15 shoes on the front porch. At the same time, I go, you know what? We can't live that like that as a city and be successful long term. In my view. So we got to find that balance. And I got to be honest, I'm surprised the market hasn't solved the problem. I mean, typically this is how it works. You get demand on one end, you get supply coming out the other. But for whatever reason, we're caught in some sort of a so anyway, that's a conversation for another day, but I really do appreciate the conversation because it's an important one.
Thank you, Mayor. Council?
Yes.
Go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, I just want a couple of things real quick in this discussion. I just want, when we're talking about 4 to 2, and I completely understand the reasonings for it and things like that, but we want to be mindful of people who are going to fall through the gaps. There are going to be families where one person is disabled, so they are unmarried. You've got couples that, because married disabled individuals are penalized for being married and having a joint income. So many times if someone is on disability, they just choose not to get married. So, I mean, like you're going to have families that are not traditional families. So I get that the majority are, but there are going to be families that fall through the cracks on this. I've had people come to me and say, Michelle, there's 3 of us friends who want to rent, but we're unrelated, and they want to live together. We're not talking college kids. These are young adults who are out in the world working. They contribute to the community. They're active in the community, but they can't rent because it would break the rules of the 4 to 2. So it's a little bit more nuanced. I think if we can find room when we're talking about this to find exceptions to the rules, that would be great. I think that would be something that we need to have a discussion about.
And Can I speak to that quickly?
Yeah, sure.
So there is an option currently for a functional family status. If you can meet those criteria, share a budget, share household chores, prepare meals together. I can't recall all 7 of them. It's been some time ago.
Yeah.
There's that option. Not very many people take advantage of it or even
I
make
think
the
it's just that people aren't aware of
even
it,
make
is
the
what it is.
request. So that may be a way for us to solve this problem to a certain extent if those folks are satisfying those criteria.
Right, yeah, I mean, I think that there's an information
Okay.
and knowledge
Yeah,
gap there.
I just
that
wanted to
people-
share
yeah.
that there is
I mean, there's-
there is a provision for it.
Yeah. That's something that folks, that they need to be aware of, and we maybe need to lean into that a little bit more
Okay.
heavily than we have in the past. The other thing I wanted to bring up is I want to put a big shout out to Debbie and Randy Day, who just donated $1 million for the children's library to the new Wycomico Public Library going in the old Ward Museum. That is an amazing donation. If you get an opportunity, go to the Wycomico County Library website. Go there. The plans are posted. If you would like to contribute to this, you can. For certain amounts, you can get a brick out front, or you can get different a ceiling tile, different things.
Sounds like more of my budget.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I don't think any of us are going to be getting a whole wing set up, but I mean, it takes a village, and everybody can contribute a little bit, I think, and I think but that is really amazing, and the plans for the children's area is on the website as well. Go take a look at it. I mean, my early childhood educator heart was singing when I saw those plans. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to go to the event that they had last week. I had other stuff going on. So, but all the plans are on their website. So please go check it out. And it's really amazing that was a huge donation. And I can't thank them enough. That's fantastic.
Thank you, Councilwoman.
Okay, 4 weeks and 1 day, Gains On has been thriving. I am so elated. I'm so happy. I thank you, Mayor Boda. I thank Rachel Manning, the City of Salisbury and staff, administration, Richard Hazel Youth Center, Wycomico County Public Schools. I've spoken to the Christian Shelter, Bishop Dickerson, and I'm going to speak to Urban Ministry about bringing their children out, their youth out during the day for the program. Wycomico County Parks and Recreation Director Steve Miller loaned us 2 box hockeys. And today was an experience of teaching the young people how to do the box hockey, and they had a ball. Some of the things that we do out there, we have water games, sprinklers, slide, water guns, balloons. They're painting flower pots, doing box hockey again, board games, kickball, wiffle ball, basketball, and they have lunch at 12 from 12 to 12:30. And this program, lunches will end August the 1st, which is Friday. We're looking for donations of lunches to help with these young people. It's one of the best programs. It takes me back to when I was a child, and it's really nice thing to do. But I do know after Friday, we're going to be scuffling with meals to make sure that they're fed, because Wycomico County Public Schools will no longer, because they're preparing for the school season. Also, the National Dairy Association came out, and then No Kid Hungry came out last week. And we had a marvelous talk. Wycomico County Public Schools, Eric Gosley came out. And we had the best conversation ever. So Mira, I want to link up with you to link up with them to see if there'll be help us with our program next year when the public schools, not drop the program. I'm not going to say drop it, but when they have to take care of their own business, as far as the school system is concerned, we need to get them to help us finish this program out. But like I said, we need more. Actually, we've had like 60 to 40 kids.
That's great.
In a day's time. And I'm gonna tell you something, those kids are lovely, and and the parents are so sweet. The parents love it. They actually love it. They're like calling me, what time are you opening tomorrow? You know, whatever. And I'll tell them, and they come. And I actually try to tell them to be there by at least 9:30, 10 o'clock, even though it's supposed to be from 9 to 1, because it gives our staff, and I would like to thank the staff directors out there, but it gives our staff time to get everything set up. Get it set up. But it's a good program, and if you have time, just stop by and see what goes on. I even brought canvas. I went out and brought canvases, and they painted, and if you could have seen, if you look at my Facebook page, and you look at some of the paintings that these young people painted, you would be amazed. I said, use your imagination and do what you do. And they did just what they did. So we may just do that. So I thank you, everybody who has assisted, helped, or whatever, and helped direct this and get it where it's going. Hopefully, no, I'm not going to say hopefully. Next year, to do the same program at the Lake Street Playground and Dover Dale as well. So thank you all for the time. Oh, and also Truth. The Truth Committee had a meeting. Was it last Tuesday?
Yeah. Last week.
Last Tuesday. Amber Green did a good job. We talked about, had a lot of topics that we touched in on, and it's a Truth Committee tour. So August the 20th, they'll be meeting somewhere else, and I think it's at Vehicles for Change is the next one, and it's at 6 o'clock. I'm now on the YDAC, and I'm loving it. Because kids are my youth are my love anyway. So I'm loving it. My first meeting was last week, and it just fell right in place. So I'm just looking to move further with some of these things we had. And do not forget, National Night Out.
Yeah.
Next Tuesday.
5
I think it starts at 5 o'clock.
Yeah.
Don't miss it. Do not miss it. Come out and watch the kids and watch the families intertwine and mingle and, have fun together. It's so elating to see the people get together and have such a good time. And it's a very nice event. So make sure you're there. Make sure you bring your kids. Make sure you bring your entire families. Just come out.
Free.
Everything is free. Everything is free. So just come out, and you got a lot of information. A lot of information there, so tap into all that information. Thank you.
Councilwoman Jackson. Can you explain, if folks want to make donations for the lunches, how can they coordinate? Or
Do you want to send it to them, or you want it to bring to Mir?
Yeah, they can send it to us. We're going to ensure that there's snacks and lunches available. So.
Okay.
Okay, to Mir Boda, to Housing and Community.
Are they bringing funds, or are they food? How? I just want to make sure.
However they choose. No, don't.
We're going to ensure that there's.
Okay, so no, we don't need to.
You don't need it?
We're going to handle it.
Okay.
Okay, no
got it.
problem, no
Thank you.
problem, because I knew before it was just like, we didn't know what was going to take place. So, okay, that's fine.
Thank you.
That is fine.
Appreciate that. Councilman Shield, any comments?
Yes, a plug for Night Out. That's how I met Stefan and showed me how to put up a tent. So you get to meet lots of great people if you attend. I was happy to attend the graduation of the Junior Fire Academy, and that was last week, and they had 19 children. And it was just really cool. What Zach, who runs it, did was just wonderful, even in the heat. And I got to meet a new friend, and her name is, she has her own business card, Polly. And she is one of the canine dogs that Chief Frampton was talking about that's with the Fire Marshal's Department. And they brought another friend with her, but Polly was real sweet. So the kids got to meet the dogs that, go for explosives and, what else, Chief? Drugs. They're trained to do arson, and it's fascinating to learn what they are capable of doing. Mine is too spoiled to be taught. So, anyway, the next academy is for 13 and 16-year-olds, and it's probably full, and it starts on Monday, the 4th. But I'm going to open this. Tell me if I'm wrong. If anybody sitting here wants to go and see, it's really cool to watch. So anyway, that's coming up next. And The only other thing is the ADUs. I again thank Nick and his crew for inviting me when he sent that site, the website out to me. I got to watch it with them, so I had interaction with some of his people. So it's always helpful because you get other points of view. So I think that's it. So thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman DeShield, and thank you, Council and Administration. I don't have much to say on my end. Again, echoing thoughts I said before. Thank you all for your comments. Thank you for being a part of the conversation. I think we had a good, fruitful conversation tonight. And the only thing I have, which it's funny because Council Vice President is not here, but we received an email earlier from the Blood Bank of Delmarva. Again, they are reopened here in Salisbury, which that is great. But they are in a crisis. They have less than a 2-day inventory where they are far below the ideal 7-day supply. And again, just given that 5 pints of blood, again, saved my brother's life, I will find time, and I do not love needles, but I'm going to go for the cookies too, but I'm going to go and give blood because, again, just when it hits home, it hit home. So, if you cannot, again, share that out, but just knowing that locally we don't have the blood supply that we need, again, that's making a difference or not. Doesn't matter how many shifts we have with crew members or anything like that if we don't have the blood to save lives. And it can be used for many different things. So just want to share that information out there. And thanks to the Blood Bank of Delmarva for coming back locally. So again, thank you there. We will convene in closed session after this. Our next meeting, I believe, is August 11th, if I remember correctly. You'll see us on there. But if nothing further, again, time is 8:20, and this work session is now adjourned.